Hey everybody, it's Pat Sloan. Welcome on Sunday afternoon. I thought it'd be fun to do a little sit and sew here in Facebook, because if I do it this time zone, then I'm going to get a bigger group of people around the world who might be able to watch, so everybody in Europe isn't asleep like they were the last time. So I just thought that would be fun. I'm going to try to watch it also on my tablet so I can see what's going on. So did you get something to sew with me? I wrote a little bit earlier today that I had gone through my project bins last night, and you can see that in the photo I posted here in the group. But I had to sort through them, and there was UFOs in there. There were projects that were almost finished that we've done, things that I need to finish, and then I also had to make room because I have new stuff coming. So when I was going through all of that, I decided that there were a few projects that there's just a little bit needed, and then there were a few projects that I looked at it and I'm like, I don't want to work on those. I like this part of the fabric, but this isn't what I want to do with that. So I did a little bit of, I don't know, you call it dramatic to say soul searching, but it's not. It's just fabric. But it's all about, what do you want to spend your time on? And I'm going to do a newsletter right after this, which comes to your inbox, an email newsletter. And I put a link here so that you can sign up if you've never signed up before. And I'm going to do a little talk about thoughts on UFOs, and then ask you a question in there, kind of where you are and what you're doing with things. And I thought that would be kind of fun to get. I've done UFOs type stuff for many, many years, off and on. And I thought it might be really nice to kind of revisit that again with all of you, because I don't think as a group we've done as much of that. And if you've got things hanging over your head that you maybe don't really want to work on, they kind of drag you down. At least they do me. I see them, I'm like, they're taking up space, they're taking up mental room. So watch for the newsletter, and you can sign up. And if you have thought you signed up and you didn't, then email me, because I have to have your email in order to verify if you're on there. I went through and discovered that in my Aurifili Designer of the Month blocks, I actually had not blanket stitched one of the blocks yet. It's Shruti's block, which is gorgeous, gorgeous. And I'm like, why is this not blanket stitched? So we are going to talk a little bit about that and about thread and some other things. I'm going to see if I can, I've got my tablet. I'm going to see what's going on, if I can, sometimes I can see comments, sometimes I can't, and I'll just come back and answer them later if anything, if I can see stuff eventually. So if you have something that you want me to answer later, just go ahead and write it in there, and I'll come back in and do that. Okay, let's talk about these blocks. This is like one of my few containers that's not the aqua ones. And actually, I got this way long time ago for something else, and it has it fits on the one shelf. For those of you who want to know, I have Koala Studio furniture. So the one tower has all of my aqua boxes, except there's one place where to get a fourth box, the skinnier one works. So I'm keeping it, even though it's not aqua. I like everything to match for my storage. So in here are all my version of the Aurifili blocks, which are done in French General fabric. So I'm going to switch to the other camera, and that way I can show you up close down here a few things. So here is my block that's already been fused. So you can see that Okay, it needs to like focus. There, we're going to see if it'll focus for a second. Well, you can, whoops. Probably be better if I lay it down. What do you think? Yeah. It was a little too close. So this has been fused. It's one whole unit that I traced. So let me flip back around and let you see it. I'll hold it up to the camera. So here is what it looks like. I used this really beautiful paisley, and then I did the applique as one whole unit, and it's sort of like a paper cut, you know, like a snowflake, like a paper snowflake. And so Shruti's design is just beautiful, and I cut it out and just fused it as one big unit. You could do this as hand applique. She did hers as reverse applique. So it was done where the beige would have been on the bottom and the paisley on the top. It was reversed. So mine is like this. And I'll put a link to this. I forgot to do that. I'll do it. So I want to audition some thread for the applique. One of the things I use for most of my, well, the thing that I use for most of my applique is 50 weight Aurifil. I will sometimes use the heavier weights, but I generally use 50 weight, and I generally try to match the thread color fairly close. So let me see. Before we go to talk about thread, I'll give a few more people a chance to jump in, and I'm going to see who all is here. So we've got, okay, so someone wanted to know what the machine is. This is a Baby Lock Destiny 2, and it is gorgeous. It does everything I need it to do. We've got people here from Nova Scotia. We've got everybody's watching live, Atlanta. So, whee! Okay, let me talk about thread for a minute. Because on our Grandma's Kitchen, we have some applique, you know, like the little dress, right? And that's one that I think everybody jumped in and you did do, and some of you have still not done it. I bet, you know, look around. Have you not done it yet? But you will. I'm going to tell you how easy it is, because when you applique on your machine, you're still at your machine. You do some cutting, you do some tracing and cutting, and then you sew on your machine. So it's not really difficult at all. It just takes a little time and a tiny little bit of practice. And I'm going to do some stitching here, and I'm going to put the close-up camera when I do that. But first, let me talk about thread, because I use Aurifil. And I have some thread collections like this one. This is my neutrals box. So the perfect box of neutrals is what I did. I put in here a whole lot of threads that you would use for piecing, or you can actually use a lot of these for blanket stitching, because they will blend. They're not going to be like perfect matches on everything, but they're going to blend and give like a nice decorative edge for your work. And that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to use the colors in here. Now, let's see if I can do this without tumbling them all onto the table. There. See, those are the colors that I picked, because they give you a range from darks to lights. They give you cool colors and warm colors, and they'll blend with many, many fabrics that you use. So I'm going to do a close-up here and show you how I pick the thread color. You know, so, oh, before I do that, who all is on here now? Hi from Europe, Becky from Europe. Where in Europe, Becky? Europe is a big place. Okay. Let me see if I can show you this. Oh, I can show you this down on the close-up. So I want to show you something about the spools on close-up. So here is the Aurifil. This is the regular size spool versus the tiny little spools. So the regular size spool has, you know, tons of thread on it. They do this in in meters. It's 1,300 meters in the large spool. So it's a really good value. Now what I want to show you is the feature, and I've done videos on this before, but some of you may have not seen it, is the bottom, this bottom cap here, you know, where all of the information is. This is all the information it tells you. It's, whoops, it's Aurifili, you know, the number, how much is on here, made in Italy, and it's 50/2, it's 50 weight, 2 ply. So the cap, this bottom cap pops off. And the reason why that is brilliant is because you can take your thread tail and lay it down across the bottom and stick the cap back on. You can tell this one I haven't put on the machine yet because it still has the paper. And I lock the thread in there. So you can see now I can trim this shorter and I don't have a big, huge thread mess because it gets locked in there. Okay. Let's look at how I do the color. I'm going to get this over here. So this is color 2370 from my neutrals kit, and I will take a single strand and lay it on top like that and decide, you know, do I think that looks good? You know, do I like that color? Let me show you several of the other ones. If I went a lot lighter, so here's a lighter thread. And if I took a strand of that and put it next to it, so we'll see. I don't know how well you can see that, but yeah, I think you can see how much lighter it is than the other. Oop, 2 camera action. Then, if you wanted to really give it definition, you could go with a dark. This is kind of my go-to for a darker brown. And I'll put that one, let's see, over here. So, there I lay it down. Let me see if I can get it laid right down. So there we have the light. This is the medium, which is what I'm going to stitch with, and the darker. And the medium, none of these are 100% the exact same color, but the medium is going to give me just a slight little definition to what's going on, which is what I want. Okay, so let me put those two over to the side a minute, and let me flip back around. Okay, who's here? New Zealand. What time is it in New Zealand? That's Denise. Must be a little bit early, I'm thinking. Maybe not. So I am going to blanket stitch. But before I do that, if you have been wanting to learn more about fusible applique by machine, I do have tutorials on my website, but I also have, you know, pretty much have a whole book. So this is the book on that, the Teach Me to Applique. And like all of my Teach Me books, I have patterns, but I also show you, like here's a whole discussion on thread. You know, so I've got all these things about thread so that you can read it and learn about it. And then I talk to you about what the stitch would look like, how you prepare, you know, how you prepare things. It's all step by step, so that you could just walk through this like a class and see, you know, the parts you need, or if you haven't done it for a while, you can use it as a refresher. And then it has tons of projects in it. Okay, I am going to switch the camera down and do a little stitching. So if you're sewing, if you're actually sitting at your machine sewing along, you know, like here I have the tablet, so I can see you know, what you're working on. If you want to put a picture of it in the comment, attach a photo to your comment. That would be kind of fun. So let me do close up. Okay, so first of all, I need to change the foot. And I'm going to show you that on the baby locks, they have a really easy way to change the foot. You basically just drop it down like that and pull it out. So I took off my 1/4 inch foot, and now I am going to put on the open toe applique foot. And let me just be sure you can see that first. I think you can see here before I put it on, because this is the foot that I use. It's an open toe. There are lots of feet that you will have a bar across it, like right across, here would be a bar. But I like this that's really like a V. Let me see if I can put it in the palm of my hand a little bit better. So it's actually all the way open, like a V, not a V, like a U. It's shaped like a U. And that's important because visibility wise, I have all the visibility I need when that's open. All right, so I am going to put it on the machine. And to do that is super easy. I just put it there, and I'm trying to do this without putting my hand in front of the camera. There, pop it up. So now it's popped up. And I have got my unicorn scissors for trimming, because even though I already have this thread on the machine, so I have that already threaded up. I could just use like the thread cutter for the blanket stitching, but I prefer to cut the threads whenever I decide to do that. Now, one of the interesting things about this design is that here I'll use the scissors, but you have the inside part here to stitch. So when I'm stitching, I'm going to be going this way, around, around, around. So how do you plan this? It doesn't matter, actually. You could do all this stitching for the inside for all of the pieces, because there's two for each wing of the shape, and then there's the center. After that, you do the entire outside, all of this, in one swoop. So here's a tip. Be sure that when you get to this outside one, check your thread, your bobbin thread, because you don't want to start and then have to stop. So I'm going to do an inside one. Let me do a small one. I'll do this one here and show you what that looks like, because it's a little different than working on the outside, and because it's tiny, I can complete it. If I was working on the outside, I would be positioning like this, so I would be stitching from here and then down. But when I'm on the inside, I have to position here so that I can go around or start over here. You don't want to start in corners or points. You want to start like on a straightaway, because you need to get your rhythm going just a little bit. All right, I am going to fold this up, because it'd be dangerous to fold it under, because then I can't see it, and I don't want to stitch it under. Okay. So there's Brenda, who's making her first quilt today. That's exciting. All right. Now remember, I am stitching this small unit in here. So I'm going to be doing this inside shape, and I'm going to drop the needle. And I can I've also got a button here that when I stop, it's going to raise my presser foot. Okay, yeah. There we go. I'm going to have to hold that down so that you can see it a little bit. Can you see over there? If I move it like this. I'm moving the camera around a little bit to see what you're seeing. Now, of course, the camera is sitting now right in front of me. So Not sure what you can actually see, but we're going to do the best we can. I'm doing this all, well, I have the 2-camera system, but I don't have a cameraman standing over top of me to shine the light down. Okay, so there I am. If I shove this a little bit, there you can see. Okay, I am going to do a locking stitch, which makes the needle go up and down in place just a couple of times. And now I've got my blanket stitch that I need to set because I actually started talking to you and I forgot to set the blanket stitch. So I need to pull my needle up. I'm going to put the blanket stitch on. Whoops. Give me a second. So I have to retrieve it. I have a memory in my machine. And so what I want to do is be sure. There, see, when I turned to the blanket stitch, from straight stitch, it shifted this needle just a hair to the right for the blanket stitch. So now I want to do needle down. There we go. And when I start stitching, and I always use a foot pedal to stitch, blanket stitch, because I want control. I sometimes actually do needle up, needle down to stitch. So I'm going to just do a few stitches in place. There goes 1, 2. Okay, so I'm coming down to the corner, which is, in that little point, and I'm going to take it up, and then I'm going to rotate it so that I can do a stitch, 1, 2, and then rotate again so I can turn. So rotating just means I'm turning it, but I have to have the release of the presser foot in order to turn the fabric. Okay, and then I can go like this until I get to the next intersection and rotate and do 1 stitch. And there we do it again. I go really slow when I do those turns. That way I have control, because if I don't go really slow, it could just go boom, boom, boom and do a whole bunch of stitches, and that's not what I want. All right, and then I am going to, every time I start stitching, the presser foot will lower, because I have what I call it like a hover mode on here. If you have a knee lift, that'll do the same thing. Every time you would stop, you would hit the knee lift, and then you could lift it and rotate. You always want to be working a needle down too. You don't want your needle up. And I tell you all those things. You don't have to remember them in the book, but so if you have the book, you can follow along there. All right, let me switch back and talk to you for a minute. There we go. So who all has come in since we've been chatting? And has anybody shared a picture? What thread do I use in the bobbin? That's a great question. Celia asked. So when I'm blanket stitching, I always use the same weight in the top and manufacturer, and the same manufacturer and weight in the bobbin. If your machine is messing up, check to be sure that you have identical manufacturer and weight, because often machines get a little cranky and you'd have to be adjusting things, and it's just easier to wind a bobbin. I'm using Aurifili 50 weight here. The 40 weight is gorgeous. The 28 is really beautiful. You can do 12, which is pretty heavy, but then you have to do a few more things, like a bigger eye needle and some other things to work with 12. But 50 is my go-to. That's what I have all the colors of, and it makes a really beautiful stitch. Particularly, I'm usually doing my stitching so it's not a feature. I'm not trying to make a overly heavy look to my blanket stitching. Okay, let's see. The pattern would scare you. No, this is not scary. It just takes a tiny bit longer than doing something totally smooth. I would say that maybe if you have never blanket stitched in your life, start with some circles or some hearts or some very open leaves. Don't pick a super intricate piece where you don't yet have control over how to maneuver. That's really the whole key, is that you need to practice so that as you maneuver, you have full control, that you know where you're going with the stitch. So let me go back and do a bit more stitching, because I want to stitch all the way to the other side on this one. Okay, I'm going to get up to the next intersection and rotate. because I want to get out to here. And then, so this one will take a little bit longer than some to do, just because, you know, it does have, I'm going to adjust here a little bit. I wanted my needle to come down right on the point, so I just moved it a little bit so it would do what I wanted. And then I'm going to do needle up, needle down, needle up, needle down. So I'm not using my foot pedal when I did that. And I'll repeat it on this side. Needle up, needle down. And I might rotate it here so that it's at an angle for that point. And then go straight again until I get to that intersection. And do up, down, and then over and over. So just have a little bit more control of your needle. The thing is, with the needle up, needle down, you need to have a machine that will move the feed dogs whenever your up and down is going. Because if it doesn't, see, that was over rotating, so I just want to make it come back down where I wanted it, and then straight. And I'll walk you through all of this. You can have step-by-step photos. So, okay. Go forward a little bit. Okay, now I'm using the foot pedal again, because that's an easy, softer curve. Whee! Is this like watching paint dry? So this is the bite, and then it's back to the edge. So, you know, my straight part of my stitch is on the blue fabric. So what you see here, the straight part is on the blue fabric. It might occasionally, like you might occasionally pop up onto the other fabric. It's not the end of the world. But the goal is to keep the straight stitch right along the edge of the blue fabric. And then I angle this, and then I'll come down. I'm going to do this with my needle up, needle down, because I want all that control. Then I'm going to rotate the point. And I show you step by step how to do that, which is easier probably with a photo. And then straight forward, then rotate. So you just have to think about it a little bit more when there's points and curves. Come back up to this next point, and up and down. I'm doing another pretty stitch right at the point and back. Now, if I'm not talking, I do this a lot faster. You know, if I'm not actually demoing like this, it will be a lot faster. I can actually, because I've done this for so long, I actually blanket stitch pretty quickly, even with these, you know, more intricate places. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I'm back at the beginning now. This takes me all the way back to the beginning, and I am going to do a locking stitch, so it goes up and down like that. And then here I will use a thread cutter. And so it's cut my thread, and when I pull away like this, the threads get pulled to the back, and then I have my beginning thread, which I will just tie, just cut off like that. So let's see. There is sort of this inside blanket stitched piece. So I'll just hold it here for a second so the camera can, you know, it does auto focus. So hopefully you can see it pretty good. Yay! That's the inside one. Now if I was doing it on the outside, then of course it's going to match out there. Let me stop for a second and go back to hey, back to talking to you. Let me see if there's another question on there. So I need to add the link. I'll add the link down there. You can get to the Aurifili block so you can get this one. But you know, there's lots of simpler projects that you can learn to applique with, and I put a lot of those in the book, because even like the front, the daisy banner, those are big shapes. The circles are big. The stems are easy. The big, huge basket, and really doing circles, as much as you're like, you know, doing circles really teaches you how to control and move. They are the best thing to do. So the more circles you can do, the better. Here's one of my favorite ones in here that, it's a lot of patchwork, and then it has a bunch of very large, fun, happy flowers. And those are easy. And, you wouldn't have to put a flower in every one. You could decide to do a few less. Where's another? There is one in here that I designed. Here it is. This is called Sweet Bees Bouquet. And this is perfect. Oops. There we go. Perfect for learning. So when you practice on that one, it gives you enough curves, and there are not that many shapes, so that you can create that really nice wall hanging easily. It only has a few circles. I was kind to you. And then the leaves and the flowers, but that is I designed that one to do first, so that you can have something real to practice on. So that was pretty fun, right? I have a lot more to do on there. I think I'm going to leave it up. One of the things I like to do is leave the machine sort of ready and something on it, so that I can actually come and do one of those in just a couple of, probably a minute or so, if I was just doing it myself. If I sat down and did that small one, and then the larger one would take me a little bit longer. Let me show you the block again, because this is the Aurifili Designer of the Month block. This was Shruti's, and I put the fusible is the light color, the taupey color, or the tan. But it's actually kind of more of a taupe. And these are French General fabrics. Now, another thing I wanted to be sure you remember, and there's a link to it, is that this month my Fabulous Friday giveaway was on Thursday, because I had another project I was posting about on Friday. So I want you to be able to enter, because it includes several things. This is a mega prize from one of my talk show guests, which is so neat. And I am going to, I'll switch the cameras here in a minute, and so I'll show you a couple of the things sort of up close on that. Okay. Let's see what everybody's doing. So if you are sewing something, tell me about it. If you're just hanging out, doing something else, listening to this while you're, I don't know, at the ball game, or cooking, or who knows what you're doing here on Sunday. And also, I'm very curious if you like this time frame, Sunday afternoon versus an evening. Afternoon for me is not afternoon for everybody. I live on the East Coast of the United States, and so I'm in the Eastern time zone. That may be totally not good for you, but then you can watch it on the rerun. So it's recorded. It's all recorded. And I'll put this one up on YouTube then, because when I do it with all of my regular cameras, it's a lot clearer, and I can post it up there. So I will do that. Oh, all right. Okay, here's a good question. Lidwina asked, do I change my stitch length from the present in the machine? Okay, meaning the default. Do I change the stitch length for my applique from the default of my machine? She goes, she has a Destiny, and she's working at Applique Designer today. So she's also got a baby lock Destiny, which is a little different model than my Destiny 2, but very, very similar. So, Lidwina, yes, I generally will change off of the default, because I want to control exactly what my stitch looks like. And the manufacturer doesn't know what I want. They don't know what size my shapes are. They don't know what thread I have. They don't know what my likes and dislikes are. So the first thing you have to do whenever you start to stitch is test the default. And see what it is, and then make your zigzag number bigger or smaller, and the space between them, which is the straight number, bigger or smaller to get what you want. So basically you set up a test piece. And when you do a test piece, don't do just one piece of fabric because that's going to suck in the thread. There's no stability to it. So do a test with 2 layers of fabric, or just put a piece of fusible down, fuse a piece of applique on, and test with the real deal, exactly what you'll be doing. So just make a strip. That's what I show you in the book, is that you take a strip and then you just run and you change the numbers and then you write on that strip till you get what you want. Because some machines, the default will be fine. You'll like it, but you might want to change it. Maybe you have smaller shapes one time. Maybe you have larger shapes one time. So you just never know. Maybe you're using a thicker thread. You want to make the space of the stitches further apart because the thread is thicker. So all those things, you are in control. You make all the decisions. But the default is always where you start. Then if you have a machine with programmable memory, save it. That's what I do. I have mine saved so that I can just go and pull it up. That's what I use. Okay, let me switch to the camera here in a second, and I will show you the prize from Patricia Bellier at Oaken Arts for my Fabulous Friday giveaway, which was on Thursday. But you don't know that anymore now because it doesn't matter. So it's you just go to the link. So this is her book that we talked about, which is East Meets West Quilts. And the whole idea of her book is to use these really wonderful Japanese fabrics. And in the talk show, which the link will have it, you can listen to my talk show there of the episode where she was on. She tells me about these fabrics, and if you are the lucky winner, you win a piece of it. Here is the piece that she sent, which is so gorgeous. These Japanese fabrics are, I forget what the width is, like 18 inches or something like that, because they buy a whole bolt and they make a kimono. And so it is just beautiful. And she has, her whole book has ways to use this and explains it. But in addition to, not only is the book and a gorgeous piece of the fabric, it's like 1 yard, but she has a thread set from Aurifili. There we go. And you win this too. So in her colors, these are all 50 weight, and you get like you would get all of these juicy colors if you are the winner. So this is, I'm trying to really do some giveaways that are a little bit more substantial, fun, because I have lots of things. I have lots of great guests, and they have things, and people send me stuff to review, and so spread the love. Got to spread the love of the projects. Okay, the one other thing I thought I'd show you in person, let me put that back there, is if you have been following along on the Button Club, whether you actually are in the Button Club, which you should be because they're so cute, but if you're not, you can still do the patterns. This is the one that I did this week on Friday. So it's the leaves, and I saw somebody, I'm sorry, I forget who it was, but somebody did several of the leaves and made like a table runner and made this one. So you can do both of them. If you're in the Button Club, the buttons come out after my pattern. They'll ship in another day or so you can have it all ready and then just stitch the buttons on. So this one, here, I'll show you. You want to see it up close? Let me see if I can do that. I'll switch it over so that you can see the cutie patootie little buttons up close. I don't know. I think the owl is my favorite. He is darling. Look at that. Look at the little face and the pumpkin and the flower. Then there's a chunky acorn, which I think is pretty darn cute. And then I also did on the leaf, I put a double a double button, because I really love doing the double buttons like this, where you put a little teeny one in the center. I think they're super cute. So besides with these projects, I'm doing like straight stitching. So this is the quilting is straight quilting, straight line quilting with my walking foot. It's just fun and easy. They're pretty small, but if you want to practice your free motion on these, or they're also perfect for practicing your applique. So here, let me just show you this one up close. So here is the one from last month. So you could applique the sunflower. And, I went, let me just see. So, here is, I used the gold thread, which was a little bit, it kind of matched that darker. But then, you get to see a little bit of definition around all the lighter fabrics. I don't change the thread color. I just, go with one shade, whether it's lighter or darker, of matching something, and go all the way around it. And then the black, I did black thread, which means, you pretty much, it's hard to see black thread on black, which is the point, because I didn't really want it to be a feature. Let me flip this around so I can show you that one up here. So this is perfect also for practicing your applique. A lot of the button clubs I did applique, and there wasn't a lot on it, just a little bit. I liked how I fussy cut the leaves. Isn't that fun? I was like just messing around and it happened. I didn't even plan it. Shh, don't tell anybody. I want you to think I was like super, like organized and planned that. That club has little bitty bees that are so darling. They're so cute. You want to see the bees? Let me switch it back around. So the bees they're all different sizes of them. So I have to move that. There's little teeny weeny ones here, and another little teeny weeny one up there. I like that one. I like that one with the stripe. I don't know. So darling. Gotta do cute things. Gotta make cute things. So let me see if there's any other kind of questions, and then I'll probably sign out and go get the newsletter ready. So that's what I want you to look at, because I'm going to just give some thoughts on UFOs, and that will be what's in the newsletter, and there's a link there so you can sign up. It won't send for a couple hours after I'm done here, but if you're listening on the replay, I'll actually put a link later to go read it so that you can read it online if you miss getting it. Okay, this has been fun. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, just tell me anything in the comments about it. Was the time good? Was it not good? Maybe don't tell me that. It's always going to be not good for somebody. It's always going to be perfect for somebody. So I just do these when I can do them, when it fits into what I'm doing. So, like next weekend, I will be at the trade show in Houston. And the following weekend, I will be in Harrisonburg, Virginia, at the Virginia Quilt Museum with my exhibit on Saturday, November 4th. So if you are planning to come to the museum, I will be there, and I am so excited to be able to talk to you. I will also do a regular video. I don't know if I'll do a Facebook Live from there. It just depends, because it'll be like, there could be a lot of people. It may not come in so well, but I might do a quick one, a short one. But I'll do a regular video and then be able to post that, so it'll be clearer, and I'll be able to put that on YouTube with a clearer video. So thank you for joining me, and I hope to see some of you November 4th. And if you are if you're shop owners watching this and you're going to be at the trade show, I will be there all the days. I have a space in Modaland, and I have schoolhouses, and I'll be doing demos, and there's a giveaway from my beginner book. So those are the things that I have going on, and I will go read back through the comments, everybody, and so I'll answer anything that I didn't answer here, and it's been really fun. See you later. Oh.